Walt, Lollapalooza 2014, hanging backstage with Matt from the 1975. Matt, what's going on, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing all right. First time I saw you guys play was well over a year ago at South by Southwest, and so much has happened for you guys since then. New record, played all of these shows. What's been the highlight?
Oh, the one highlight, I really don't know. I mean, that would kind of subserviate all the other mental things that have happened. I mean, it's just been very surreal for me, you know, trying to take everything in. At the time, it doesn't really work. It's more of a retrospective kind of thing. Well, talking about South by, you know, it's always a special time for us because that first South by was like the catalyst for everything that happened.
You did, I think, 10, 11 shows.
It was 11 in 5 days. I remember that. I remember telling everybody that.
Yeah.
I did 6. I did what was it? I did 4 shows with no sleep at one point. That was fun.
I think I saw you on one of the last ones, and yeah, you look a little crispy. And then you came here and you played a show at Subterranean in Chicago.
Yeah.
And you did this. You did the song "Woman."
Did I?
Where you had everybody shut up. Yeah, and then it was just you, the guitar, singing that. I don't even know do you play the guitar? It was so.
I don't remember.
No, it was so powerful.
Really?
Yeah, it was. It was really great. What's that song about?
Woman.
Yeah.
It's about a prostitute, but not in a kind of misogynistic or even kind of glamorizing way. It was the fact that I was like 19 and I met this woman who I didn't actually have sex with, but she was a prostitute, and it was my obsession with that, like the video for Roberts and stuff, all about the utilization of femininity and how it has like kind of power over everything, over intellect or anything that a man holds dear to himself. And I think that song is kind of an ode to, I was just very, very impressed with her as a young man.
Right.
And I haven't played that song live in a very long time.
Wow, then that was a special thing that we got to see early on.
Yeah, it definitely was. I'm sorry I don't remember.
No, that's fantastic. It was so powerful, though.
Oh,
so anyway,
thank you.
should think about doing it again.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you.
So you were asked last summer to open for the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
That had to be, I mean, how did you receive that information? That had to be a pretty special moment.
Yeah, the first thing I thought was about telling my dad.
Right.
Because, you know, everyone's dad loves the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
There was one of those moments as well where, like, I mean, both my parents have always been so supportive, but I suppose, like, my dad has always known exactly what's going on with my career. And I think the other parents and all of our other parents maybe didn't, but when you say we're supporting the Rolling Stones, you know, they're kind of like, oh, right.
Yeah. In Hyde Park, London. Too.
Yeah, it's starting to happen, you know?
Yeah.
We thought, yes, we've got to bought ourselves some time.
So, being from Manchester, which has so many bands in its history, you know, from the Smiths and Joy Division and New Order, do you find yourself to be a part of that past, or are you blazing something different that's not connected?
I mean, I don't know. I've tried to answer that question in loads of different ways. I've spoken about what we think about, like the tribalist attitude towards music in places like Manchester and stuff like that, and we do very much exist outside of that idea, and I think that's kind of partially what we've been championed for. All the people that like our band from Manchester bands such as, you know, the guys in Oasis and other people like that who have all told us that they're fans of ours, you know, it's because we're doing something slightly different.
Right.
It's not about your geographical location. It's about the ideas that you hold dear to yourself. Where you're from is a mere detail.
You do have to admit, there's been some pretty incredible bands coming from one small geographical location.
No, of course there has. But I mean, I suppose the question really, though, is there like any pressure or anything like that? There's no denying the musical history of Manchester and how fantastic it is. But what the musical history says about Manchester is that every band was doing something slightly new, you know?
I agree. Yeah.
And that's why they were championed. So there is this weird world now where people want something similar. Again, they want that regurgitation, whereas that's not what Manchester was about.
No, it's blazing new trails.
Of course.
And so that seems to be what you guys are
So maybe
doing.
we are. Maybe ironically, we are massively part of the Manchester scene.
I think that's the right answer. I think it runs both ways.
Yeah.
The other thing that you've done, which a lot of Manchester bands have done in the past, is you've released a series of EPs, many of them before you got to the album, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
Is that by design? Did you plan to do that? Did you want to do small chunks?
It was an idea. Like, I mean, our manager is kind of like the fifth member in our band, and I've always never allowed myself to be kind of like commercially minded or have a kind of clinical approach to how I wanted to put out music, but we knew that people weren't doing EPs anymore, and people were record labels were expecting not kids, but anybody consuming music to invest in a band based on like one song, two songs, an NME cover. And we just realized that what kids want is they want music. They want to be able to invest in an identity, and the only way you can translate an identity is through giving them a wealth of material that depicts a kind of dynamic sense of self. And that's what kids really, really liked about our band, because there was 16 songs to listen to before you even had to make the decision whether you wanted to buy the album or not.
Which I think is brilliant, and I've actually given that advice to younger bands who I run along with. I'm just like, do EPs and then put them together.
Write loads of music, just write like so much
Get it
music,
out there.
and it shouldn't be a problem because I can't not write music. So everyone's like, isn't it difficult? Because there was like 39 tracks on our debut album.
Right.
Could have been 50. Could have been 50.
Now, last time you were through Chicago, or earlier this year, you were treated to a John Hughes tour, little sightseeing thing. What's the attraction with the John Hughes thing? Because
it's loads of things, from the aesthetic of that whole time. What is it? The outfits, the influence it had on culture, everyone grew up loving Back to the Future, and I think that informed my knowledge of wanting to kind of like immerse myself in those films a little bit, because I came from a small town, whether that be in Newcastle in England or in the outskirts of Chicago, and I think all of the narratives in our records are very, very consistent with those ideas in those movies, longing for something bigger, whether it be a relationship or an environment, and that kind of, that apocalyptic sense of being a teenager.
I think that's it. That teenage thing, it's universal, regardless of where you come, what geographical location. I think everybody has this.
And from what time you're talking about as well, because it's slightly reflective, the record. I think at times I'm obviously not there. I'm kind of, it's like the analysis of like a Polaroid, the kind of faded splendor of a memory.
Sure.
Something that I'm trying to carry through to the next record, really.
Have you started to think about the next record?
I didn't want to start talking about the next record. I shouldn't really said that, because people ask me loads about it, but it's so far off, and I want it to be as of itself as the first one.
Right.
Right.
Well, there's still a lot of life in this one. You're coming back to Chicago, playing the Aragon on November 5th.
Yeah, that's right.
And looking forward to that. That's a fantastic place to play. You can still grab tickets to that one.
I'm really looking forward.
Yeah, that's great. Plan to see anybody here at Lollapalooza? Anybody you're looking forward to?
Kings of Leon. I haven't seen them live since I was like 17, so Kings of Leon.
They're going to kill it.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Awesome. Well, Matthew, it's been great to hang out with you today.
Thank you,
thanks
mate.
for hanging with us backstage Lollapalooza 1975.